Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the final G Suite session of the conference. What's next for G Suite? Our areas of investment and upcoming releases. My name is David Thacker. I'm VP of Product Management at Google, and the purpose of this session was to basically recap everything that's been announced or pre-announced for G Suite over the last couple days of the conference. So there have been 2 G Suite keynotes, which hopefully you were able to attend. There's been 1 spotlight session, which we had yesterday, and then 48 breakout sessions deep diving into various products. Is there anyone that went to all 48 sessions? No? Okay. That would have been impossible. So one disclaimer here, a number of these features are released and generally available as of this week. Some of these features are going into testing, either our early adopter testing for our early access program or our trusted tester testing. For those features, we just want to say that sometimes these features evolve during the testing phase. So the designs you see, the screenshots you see in this deck may change, and the way these features work may change as we get customer feedback and validate some of these concepts. So we always like to leave you with that disclaimer. But let's first go back to impact of employees and how the impact of every employee matters. So to stay competitive, companies today need to empower their most valuable resources, their employees, to focus on the work that really drives business impact, the work they were hired for. There's a recent report we found from Workfront, a company called Workfront, which talked about and surveyed a number of professionals and found that the amount of time people feel like they're spending on their actual work they were hired to do, their primary job duties, is declining over time. And when you ask these people, what's getting in the way of you actually doing your work, there's a few things they commonly cite. The 3 most common things are just administrative work that gets in the way of work. Email is a huge time sink, which isn't always productive. And then wasteful meetings was the 3rd biggest thing. And there were a bunch of other things mentioned, but those were the top 3. So one of the things with G Suite, we believe technology should help people focus on driving this work that's going to really deliver business impact. Another trend that we're seeing is it's really difficult for IT teams to manage the complexity and keep their employees and their data secure. The average IT organization is using over 1,000 cloud services. And then when you look at data breaches in an organization, there's a large percentage of them are just due to employees not having the right internal controls. And so we'll talk about security a bit in G Suite, but security is paramount for G Suite, keeping our users and their data safe. And we'll talk about how we're doing that. So it's time to reimagine work. And within Google at G Suite, our mission is to move organizations and companies and businesses to a better way of working. And we do that through a powerful suite of applications. G Suite is a pretty robust set of products today. It has many of the products that you've heard of, things like Gmail, Google Drive, Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Slides. And we'll take you through each of these products today and tell you about what's new. But what we think really separates G Suite and what differentiates us, and these are our 3 themes, is that we're secure, we're smart, and we're simple. So what does that mean? Well, in terms of security, we think about how we can intelligently secure an organization. So if you look in G Suite, the default protections, the recommendations we make that are based on lots of analytics and machine learning signals help organizations stay safe by default. We're also, we've invested a lot in compliance and making sure that organizations that have stringent requirements for compliance can do that through G Suite. And finally, simplicity is a big part of our security story. We want to make it very easy for an IT administrator or security administrator to keep their organization safe. In terms of smart, this is where we're bringing artificial intelligence into Google's products in G Suite. And so Google as a company is really betting on artificial intelligence. And the way we think about AI is it's not meant to replace humans. It's meant to assist humans. And so when you see the features in G Suite that we're building that are powered by AI, they're designed to help people focus on the work they were hired to do. So creative tasks, meeting with clients, the important type work. And really the AI is being used to automate the mundane and the repetitive. And then finally, our 3rd pillar is simple. And so simplicity is key, both in terms of making it easy for users to adopt and use our products, but also to make it easier for IT teams to manage and deploy these products. And so in terms of simplicity, you heard earlier in the conference, we have over 1.4 billion people that are using G Suite applications today, and that includes 80 million students and teachers across schools across the world. And so we know how to build simple and intuitive interfaces, and that's a key part of our offering. So let's dive into the security and talk about a few of the security announcements that happened at the conference this week. The first was a security investigation tool. Now, we've had a security center for a while within G Suite, and that provides a comprehensive view in terms of the analytics, best practices. What the security investigation tool does is we now offer a tool that helps you detect and remediate security concerns. So this is a powerful search-based interface. There's no more having to crawl through many different types of logs for different products. You get through this easy-to-use interface, and you can do advanced queries across all different product data types, things like Gmail, if you can look at Google Drive access, your device management logs, and then you can take bulk actions when you detect problems to remediate those problems. So again, simplicity is really key here, and this is tightly embedded in the rest of the Security Center tool. This is now an EAP as of this week. Data regions was another big announcement from the conference this week, and for companies that care about where your data is being stored for various regulatory or compliance reasons, we now support data regions in G Suite. It's generally available today for business and enterprise users, and you can choose whether you want to store your data in Europe or in the US or globally, which is the default. We allow you to design organizational units, and you can change data region policies between organizational units pretty easily. We also will automatically move someone's data when they change organization units. And we do it in a way that doesn't impact the user experience, right? So you want your users to always have access to data no matter where it resides. And this is for the primary data set for a customer. And then the third major security announcement this week was our new Titan security keys. And we've long advocated that the use of security keys is the most phishing-resistant second-factor authentication mechanism for your employees, especially your key employees, such as your IT admins. And we're proud to note that there have been 0 successful G Suite account takeovers using password phishing when they've deployed our security keys. And so these Titan security keys are available now to all Google customers, and they'll be in the Google Store later this year. So that concludes the security portion. I want to turn it over to my colleague, Ajit Varma, who's our Director of Product Management for Gmail and Calendar, who's going to talk about some of the latest advancements in Gmail and Calendar. Ajit?
Hi. So as Dave mentioned, I am Director of Product in G Suite, and I'm going to talk to you about Gmail and Calendar. So both of these products, we've actually had a pretty exciting last year and launched new versions of both of these products. So Calendar was launched at Next, pre-announced last year at Next, and then fully rolled out about a year ago. And then Gmail was the new Gmail was launched in April. And both of these changes were, I would say, refreshes on the front end, a new look and feel, but they were also done on new infrastructure. And because of that, we are now, I would say, having a very exciting next year. We have a lot of new features that are coming out. So I'm going to talk to you about a few of those features. So first off, as I mentioned, the new Gmail. So kind of plugging into our themes around secure, smart, and simple. When we built the new Gmail, we really wanted to make sure that we created a product that was great for businesses and helped you be more productive, more efficient, and a great interface. So going into a few of these things. So yesterday we announced that the new Gmail is in GA. And a lot of the features that I'm talking about are going to be within the new Gmail. But hopefully all of you are already on it. We enabled the consumer side a few months ago, and we'll be rolling that out to everyone and moving people over within the next few months. So you should definitely start trying it out. So one of the first big features that we have to also launch with the new Gmail is the new offline support feature. And this is native to Gmail. So in the past, you had to download Chrome extensions, and there was a lot of sort of friction in getting offline. But now this is like a very simple sort of feature that can nail. So any of you who are traveling out of town after the conference, you should definitely enable this and try it out. We also are announcing compose time add-ons. And for some of you who are familiar with our add-ons framework, it's something that we launched a few months ago. And basically, in the past, we had something in the side panel area, which sort of improved your experience with emails, and it was contextually relevant. With compose time add-ons, we take that one step further. And as you're composing an email, you can do a lot of cool things like drop in files, or soon we'll allow the ability to create much more interactive emails, coupling this with another feature called AMP for Gmail. So these fit into creating a much more interactive email experience and making your email much more powerful. Going into some of the security improvements that we've made, the first improvement that we made is we've always, I'd say, been best in class in terms of protecting our users against phishing and spam. But a lot of times, even though we had a phishing warning, a lot of people just didn't notice that and they clicked into the email. So we wanted to make that much more aggressive, especially with, I would say, a surge in sort of phishing sort of attempts. And so with this, we've seen a lot better engagement and I'd say a lot better protection for our users against phishing attacks. So seen that work out pretty well. And then we're also rolling out confidential mode, and this isn't quite yet to G Suite customers, but it'll be coming soon. But if you have consumer Gmail and are on the new Gmail, you can start trying this out. And basically, this allows you to not only be conscious of your own security, but if you're sending emails to other people and you just don't know their own security practices or their hygiene, you can send them a confidential email, and then you have a lot more control doing things like preventing it from being copied, printed, downloading attachments, and then also having like an expiration date for that email as well, which sort of, if they get hacked 2 years from now, their entire email and like confidential emails from many years ago won't be sort of compromised. And then also one other feature is you can also enforce SMS authentication for any emails you send as well. Going back into sort of the last area, which is intelligence, this is an exciting feature that we launched, announced at I/O, and it's coming soon to the enterprise, which is the Smart Compose feature in Gmail. And we've seen a lot of like sort of great benefits to this, where it's sort of we help you write more thoughtful emails, we help you sort of write quicker emails, and then a lot of sort of the cues of if you say what's my address, we can pre-populate that, and we have a lot more coming out here as well. Going into Calendar, so within Calendar we have 3 themes. One is transforming the workplace, helping you transition from an Exchange environment to G Suite. And then we also, as part of the new Gmail, launched a new Tasks. And I have sort of more features to talk about with the room area to start, but then you'll see some more things to come out in the transition in the task area in the next few months. So we announced yesterday automatic room release, and one thing that we have heard from a lot of businesses is that all the rooms are completely booked. But then when we've done things like occupancy detection and actually audited the rooms, almost 40% of rooms are actually unutilized. And that's because people book rooms and then they don't show up, but the room is sort of on their calendar still. So we have a lot of features that we're building around, like helping like automatic room releases happen, so the space that people aren't using actually can be used by other people. And then we've also launched Meeting Room Insights, which actually help you have a better understanding of your room capacity, how much their occupancy, how much they're being used, times of day that they're being used, buildings that maybe you don't have enough rooms. And so this really helps facilities, people really sort of address the needs of your employees. And then finally in Calendar, we're investing quite a bit in calendar interoperability. So 2 new things that are coming up that we've heard requests for quite some time. One is Propose a New Time, which we launched, and it'll be coming out in the next couple of days. And that's basically when you've started a meeting with someone and they can't make it, they can propose a new time. And this is totally interoperable with, thanks, with Outlook as well. And then finally, Exchange Resource Booking, which allows you to actually have everyone in your company, whether they've moved to Calendar or not yet, actually book the same set of rooms. And now I'm going to hand it over to Ritcha to talk a little bit about the editors.
Thanks, Ajit. Good morning, everyone. So when we talk about the editors, there's a lot of different products there. But really what we're trying to do with all of these products is help you and your teams create your best work. It's really about that creation process and working together to make sure you put your best foot forward in the enterprise. And so what I'm going to do is really focus in on 2 core use cases, because we've launched a lot of things and announced a lot of things at Next across all of these different products. So the first one I'm really going to focus in on is how do we in G Suite help you convey your thoughts better and faster? So quick show of hands, who thinks there is a grammatical error in sentence number 1? Oh, you guys are good. Okay, number 2, oh, I just gave it away. Number 2. Who thinks there's an error in number 2? All right, so the grammatical error is in number 2. And what we see is that we want to be able to help you write better. We don't want you to have grammatical errors in your writing because that's not your best work. And so what we did at Next is we've launched grammar correction. The thing we've done here that's really interesting is we use the machine translation approach. That's very different than other things out there. And what that does is it allows us to learn, so it's constantly improving, but it's also catching other types of errors that other systems can't catch. And since it's built natively into docs, you don't have to worry about security. So this was a huge thing we were very excited about, and you're going to be seeing more and more coming around this way of helping you write better. The next thing I wanted to talk a little bit about is that spreadsheets are really the backbone of enterprises. They run your mission-critical workflows. They house some of your most important data. And yet, 30% of users aren't comfortable manipulating formulas. So how do we in G Suite help you find insights in your data faster? Because that's really what you're looking for. You don't want to stare at walls of data. You want those insights critical to your mission and your business. There are about 2.5 quintillion bytes of data that are created every day. And so being able to understand that data is going to become more and more critical for you and your enterprises. How do we help with this? Well, what we want to do with Google Sheets is really democratize access to data and to the analytical workflows to help you and your companies. So there's 4 steps that we've identified in this process. You have to collect data. You have to basically get it from different sources. You have to prepare this data. Make sure it's right, make sure it's correct, make sure it's in the right format. And then you want to analyze and visualize it, and finally you want to share it. There's no point having all these great insights if you just keep them to yourselves. How do you get the message out? So let's look at each of these in step. Collecting the data. One of the things that we launched is the Sheets and BigQuery data connector. And this will allow you to grab your data from BigQuery and pull it into Sheets, which is huge. Before, if you were trying to do this, you would copy and paste data. But now what we've done is we've made it very easy to pull the data and refresh the data. So that makes sure that you have your source of truth in the cloud in BigQuery, but yet you can have your data in Sheets and analyze it and use things like Sheets Explorer to make it very easy to ask natural language questions and understand your data. We've shown this to several customers, and you can read through some quotes here, but what we've seen is that people who've tried this integration have been very happy and found that it actually saved time and removed errors from their process. The next integration, how many people in this room use SAP? 3 people. Okay, so for those 3 people, we have worked on a Sheets integration with SAP, and we make it super easy to pull your data from SAP into Sheets. Let me ask, how many people use Salesforce? Okay, a bit more people, good. We've also worked on a Salesforce integration where you can pull Salesforce data from Salesforce into Sheets. And again, the source of truth is in Salesforce. You can push any sort of changes that you make in Sheets back into Salesforce. And we're going to extend the partnership with Salesforce, and this is something I'm personally very excited about. What you're going to be able to do is within the Salesforce UI, use Sheets, the power of Sheets. You'll be able to open it from Salesforce, have Sheets there, and then actually use Explore, which is our way of letting you ask questions in natural language and English and get the answers from it, as well as we'll show you some insights and charts and even pivot tables on your Salesforce data. And that's a sneak peek. It's going to be coming soon. But finally, what we're learning, there's the 2.5 quintillion bytes that I spoke about earlier. You need to process that. You need to process larger and larger data sets. And so we're rethinking how we do this. If you're interested in working with us and helping us with that, please feel free to go to this link. We would love and welcome working with more and more of you to make this possible in Sheets. Next, let's say we've got all our data in Sheets. How do we prepare this data? Well, we've launched several tools, including macros. So you can now record tasks that are very repetitive, like formatting data or splitting data in different cells, and you can use your macro to very quickly do that and help you prepare your data. We've also done things like allowing you to group rows and add checkboxes to your data. So that helps you organize it a little bit more, which again makes the analysis very, very simple. And finally, how do we help you analyze and visualize your data? This is the critical part. There's no point having all this beautifully formatted looking data if you can't do anything with it. So you've probably heard about Sheets Explorer. How many people have heard about this by now? How many people heard about Sheets Explorer for the first time at Next? Okay, so Sheets Explorer allows you to ask questions in natural language, in English, plain English. It translates it into a formula and gives you an answer. It can show you charts, pivot tables, automatically suggesting them to help you visualize this data. But not only did we do this, we've also built something called Formula Accelerator. As I mentioned, 30% of people aren't comfortable writing formulas in spreadsheets. Formula Accelerator helps write the formula for you. How many people have seen this before in Sheets? All right, well, keep an eye out for it the next time you use Google Sheets. It'll help make your formula entry 5 times faster. And finally, the easiest way to visualize data is charting, and we've heard from you that we needed to improve our charts. And so that's one of the areas that we've really been focusing in on. And what you're going to be seeing coming up soon are slicers. You'll be able to highlight one part of the series, and we'll also be adding on to the different types of charts that we have. We recently launched things like waterfall chart, and we're going to continue to build on that. And finally, sharing. Very important to share these wonderful insights that you've gleaned. And so what we are doing is a number of different things, but the one thing I wanted to highlight here is that we are allowing you to now use different storage providers based on what your company needs. And we will let you use Google Sheets with those storage providers. So to talk more about how you can share information in your organization, I'd like to now hand it over to my colleague, Scott Johnson. Thank you.
Morning, everybody. So I'm going to talk a bit about our real-time communication systems and the work we've done there when we look across telephony, our video meeting technology, or our messaging, team messaging solution, Hangouts Chat. We've announced a number of things in that area. We're also continuing to evolve our room systems, whether it be the Hangouts Meet hardware kit with video or the Jamboard that brings the whiteboard into the meeting and back into remote meetings. So yesterday we announced that we're going to be bringing Google Voice to G Suite. And as a longtime voice user, I think that's really exciting because it's a beloved product and we're continuing to heavily invest in it and now bringing it to the enterprise side of the house. We've been in telephony for just about a decade, and so I think we have a lot to offer in this area in terms of seamless, low-cost telephony in the cloud. You know, you start with Google Voice, you get a number that's not attached to any device, meaning you can take and make calls from any device from anywhere. It also gives you a lot of control over how your phone is routed, so you can forward it to numbers, and you can also separate your personal number from your work number. At I/O, we talked a lot about digital wellness. Google Voice is integrated into Google Calendar, meaning it uses your working hours as well as out-of-office settings to decide when and how to ring you. I don't think any of us really like listening to voicemails. It's a lot more efficient to scan it quickly, and so we use machine learning to automatically transcribe your voicemails. This is all part of the enterprise version of Voice as well. With the rise of voice over IP and telephony automation, we're seeing a lot more spam and robocalls. We have Google AI-powered spam detection, meaning you see a lot less of those and only get the calls that you want. Another key part of Google Voice is it's deeply integrated into G Suite, and what that means is it can carry context from different products. So here what you're seeing is a call from a Hangouts Meet meeting, and you're getting that call on Google Voice, and it's giving you the context of the fact that this is a meeting calling you, so you're ready when you answer the call. It's not just about end-user telephony, it's also about administering your telephony solutions. And we focused a lot on really trying to bring efficiency and speed to administering these. So here's an example of the UI where you assign numbers. You can assign numbers in batch, bulk, so you can quickly get your teams up on Google Voice. We also built in migration capabilities like number porting, which allows you just to keep using your current system, but then port it over without the numbers over without any service interruption. So there's a lot more there. I recommend the breakout is now, the Google Voice breakout is now up on YouTube. So if you want to learn more, that's a great resource to start with. It's currently, we announced in beta, and you can go to the Admin Central to opt into that beta. So moving on to our meeting solutions, Hangouts Meet is really there are three main areas when we think about Hangouts Meet. One is the interface to connect from any device, so whether through Chrome and Firefox or through a tablet or through your mobile device, you can join a meeting from anywhere. It's also about really getting to a video-first culture, and that's what the Hangouts Meet hardware kit is about. Is it allows you to deploy video at scale and manage rooms at scale. And then the Jamboard, which we've continued to evolve and really takes all of what we've learned and what Ritcha covered around our collaboration products and takes that collaborative technology and brings it to the whiteboard. So one big step forward we made was we brought live streaming directly into Hangouts Meet. So when you schedule a meeting, it's one click to create a streaming URL. This allows you to communicate more effectively and broadly across an organization and run all hands at scale, for example. That's up to about 100,000 people at this point, and we'll keep scaling that. So keep growing your businesses. We also really focus on efficiency around meetings. So a lot of the meeting room kit is actually focused on how do we get you into a meeting as quickly as possible so we get out of the way and you can start talking about what you came to meet about. And so part of that is the addition of voice commands, meaning you can walk into the room and while you're settling in and plugging in your laptop or equivalent, you can have Hangouts Meet start the meeting. We've also created several templates so you can quick, with just a few clicks, start meeting notes that are all templatized and have all of the meeting details already part of the notes. And then part of being video first really is about how do you connect people. Our researchers tell us 20 to 30% of communication comes through words, and the rest of it is gestures and eye contact and like my childhood. We haven't solved the childhood problem yet, but we'll get there. And so video is really important to that. And so part of that is really adapting the layout so that you're seeing people's faces full screen when you need to. And so those will be coming soon. And we're really excited about how that can continue to evolve, how people communicate. You'll see other features already released like this, where our cameras in the Hangout Meet kit do use AI to automatically do facial and body detection so that we zoom in automatically and get the best picture of the people in the room. We also have really strong interoperability with legacy systems. This allows you to start using Hangouts Meet without throwing away an investment in video technology from someone like Cisco or Polycom. So through our partner Pexip, we've a strong solution here. It even runs on Google Cloud. So with a couple of clicks in your cloud console, you're up and running and able to allow legacy systems to dial into Hangouts meetings. Continual evolution here with our whiteboarding system we've bought. We've really beefed up the integration with Hangouts Meet and the Jamboard. So what you'll see here in this animated GIF is really the standard Meet interface that you've come to be used to directly in the Jamboard. So it's really mixing the whiteboard and the meeting even more. And so it's all recognizable and easy to flip between that video experience and the whiteboard that you're working on. One thing that we often have to clarify here is that really the whiteboard itself, the Jamboard, is just one aspect of this. Really, it's equally important is the Jam software, which runs on any device and allows you to connect whether you have a Jamboard or not. And so as part of that, we brought mobile editing to Jamboard, so it's not just the tablet you can edit on, it's now your phone, and that means anybody can connect from anywhere, more ways to interact with the whiteboard and be part of the meeting, even if you're not in the room. And another thing to remind everybody about is the kind of machine learning and the kind of AI that we've baked into drawing really can make you better at communicating, especially for someone like me who just cannot sketch. And so what we do is the Jamboard actually detects things you're trying to draw and offers templates of those drawings so that you can produce clear communication and pictures on the fly. We also announced a offer this week, which is $1,600 off of the Jamboard. I think this is a pretty amazing deal, and if I didn't already have one at home, I would be buying one. I have not yet quite got them doing my work for me, but we'll get there. That's how I use collaboration. So let's move on to Hangouts Chat, our team messaging solution. Really, at the core for us of Hangouts Chat is really giving you the ability to bring your teams together to communicate with colleagues, partners, customers through messaging in an expressive, lightweight way. And so as part of that, expression is obviously a really important component of messaging. And so we have, looks like this isn't animating, but we've added reactions to Hangouts Chat, which means that you can react to, there we go. You can react to messages with emoji, making it making a more interesting environment and letting you really be even shorter with how you respond to things. And also it lets you really track like thumbs up and thumbs down around things like presentations and stuff like that you post to the room. It's not just about being expressive, but it's also about being efficient. So one big area there is Smart Reply. What Smart Reply does is it uses machine learning to give you 3 potential responses. And so with one tap, late to a meeting, quick reply to a chat. This is another way I'm hoping that my kids will start to be able to do my work for me. Back to the digital wellness, you'll see this as a pattern through all of our communication products. Hangouts Chat added Do Not Disturb as well as working hours integration, so you can decide when you want to be disconnected, when you want to be notified, and how you want to be notified. And we think this is a really important part of the suite because it allows you to really focus, get heads down time, but also be available when you need to. Hangouts Chat's deeply integrated with products across the suite, including Drive. Here's an example of the Drive bot. We've seen an 8x increase in the time to give access to files through this, is just an example. So the Drive bot is continually giving you updates on things that are happening to your content and the kind of things that you might want to respond to. So it's a great little bot to interact with and be more efficient with as you share your content with others. We also have a scheduling bot that allows you to quickly schedule meetings with natural language with people in the Hangouts room that you're in, and it automatically creates the meetings, finds time, learns what meetings you're willing to move and how you're willing to move them so that it can find the most efficient time. And so this is really useful in a lot of scenarios, but also in one of the key ones is you're inevitably not covering everything you wanted to in a meeting, and you want to quickly book a follow-up later that day, this will take care of it for you. So that's our growing set of real-time communication solutions. And with that, I'm going to bring up Alex, who's going to tell you about Google Drive.
Hi, everyone. I'm Alex Vogenthaler. I'm the Director of Product Management for Google Drive. What gets me excited about working on Drive every day is the fact that storage systems contain every good idea your organization has ever had. They contain every brainstorming document, every competitive analysis, every sales plan, financial plan. That's all stored in your company's storage system. And that might not be Drive. That might be your on-premise network filer. That might be your legacy enterprise content management system, for example, SharePoint. And there is huge potential in all of that information that's stored in those systems. It's really the collective output of every knowledge worker in your organization, and that has the potential to be incredibly valuable. Unfortunately, all of the storage systems that exist today leave that data there latent. How often have you worked on a project where you get 2 months in, you've invested a lot of time, and someone says, oh, didn't you know that Mary in that other division basically did that 2 years ago? Like, almost everyone has had that experience at some point, and I'm seeing a lot of heads nodding. That's an opportunity that existing storage systems don't realize, and it's the vision of Drive to tap that opportunity for you. We want to help every organization realize the full value of the content they create, which is fundamentally about realizing the full value of your people and your knowledge workers. The systems that you have deployed today, largely on-premise, these legacy enterprise content management systems purport to do that. They promised that they were going to solve this problem, that they were going to centralize the knowledge of your organization, and they were going to make it available to anyone who needed it whenever they wanted it. I'm sure you've parsed these statistics that are up on the screen, and if you're like most folks that I've talked to, this completely resonates for you. ECM systems have some of the lowest satisfaction scores of any software product, and they have significant deployment problems. This is very good data from a Forrester study. And to put this in perspective, I tried to understand what 36% satisfaction means. A couple of nights ago, I was doing a little research trying to understand, what other products are sort of in this range of satisfaction. The IRS gets a satisfaction score in the high 40s. So these are not well-loved or well-used products. They're not well-loved or well-used for many reasons. And I'll highlight 3 here and explain what we're doing in Google Drive that solves these problems. Number one, these systems are very hard for users to adopt. They require a lot of specialized training. They're not intuitive. They certainly don't have the ease of use that G Suite is known for. Number two, even though the promise of these systems is that they're going to deliver knowledge to people who need it when they need it and help people work together as a team and get their job done, the experience of using these as an employee within the organization is this feeling of being restricted and controlled. There's this very rigid process that you have to go through. You need special training on it, and it really feels like overhead, which causes people to not adopt the systems or to work around them in unproductive ways. Finally, if you can get your users to adopt one of these legacy ECM products, the actual benefits that they promised to deliver to the users require intensive manual labor, constantly labeling and reorganizing docs, putting them up on sites pages, creating views on sites pages. Everyone resolves at the beginning of the year that we're finally going to get the team sites page up to date. And what actually happens is 2 months later, that's stale and no one can find the important content. We set out with Drive over the last 2 years to solve these problems, to evolve Drive not just from being a file sharing system, but into being an intelligent, modern content platform as an alternative to legacy ECM systems. And we're tackling this by making these systems easy to adopt, making them not feel restrictive to the people who are using them, but actually help them get their job done easily and improve their collaboration with their coworkers, and then eliminating all the manual labor that's required for getting the value out of the solutions, and instead using Google machine learning and intelligence to deliver what people know when they need to know it. And then what we're not doing differently is we're implementing this all with the enterprise level security that you would expect. So I'm going to step through each of these 4 areas and then talk about some changes in our go-to-market that should make it easier for you if you're not already using G Suite to get the benefit of these capabilities. So on the point of adoption. ECM systems, you saw the statistic, 40% of them, almost half, have significant adoption problems. We didn't want Drive as an intelligent content platform to suffer from the same fate. So we looked really closely at what are the issues that could cause adoption barriers. And the primary potential issue in our case is that what if Drive doesn't work well with the applications that you already use within your enterprise that are key to your team workflows? and that's largely Microsoft Office, Microsoft Outlook, and existing Microsoft tools. So we've launched features like real-time presence. In my Drive session yesterday, I actually talked about 3 features in this area. I just have time to highlight one here, that make Drive interoperate seamlessly with Microsoft Office. So what you're seeing in this animated GIF is a scenario where 2 or 3 different people are trying to edit the same Word document at the same time. That file's stored in Drive, but they're using the real version of Word on their machine to edit that file. With traditional ECM systems, the way you would avoid those users stepping on one another's toes and ending up with document conflicts is some kind of check-in, check-out. But then if my coworkers checked that file out, they go out to lunch and I need to do some work, I can't get my job done. Or, possibly worse, you end up with multiple people editing the same file at the same time and overwriting one another's changes. Real-time presence in Microsoft Office for Drive is built into an installed application we have called Drive File Stream, which is the way you access your Drive content from your desktop. You don't have to install anything else. When you open up Word, you open up a file. If one of your coworkers opens up that same file, you'll be told when it's safe to edit. You'll be told if one of your coworkers makes changes and you need to refresh to get the latest change. And then what's really differentiating here, if one of your coworkers ignores that warning and conflicting edits get submitted to the system, we do a really great side-by-side diff view that helps you understand what the conflicts are, resolve those conflicts, and get back on the same page. So we've really thought about interoperability and how to avoid running into those kind of challenges with Drive. So let's talk now about how do we actually make these systems not feel like they're restricting users, but helping users work together more efficiently? If you're in a really large team, say you're in a legal team and you need to keep track of the contracts that you sign, which have standard indemnities, which have non-standard indemnities, which are in Asia, which are in the US, which have been signed and which are in the red line stage, your team, to collaborate fluidly, likely needs to go in and apply structured labels to that content. So you can say, show me all the Asia contracts with non-standard indemnities that are still in the red line phase. Legacy ECM systems have this capability. It's very hard to use. We're rolling out a version of this in Drive that lives up to the G Suite user experience standard. So the feature here is called categories. You can apply multiple categories to a document. The keys and values inside of there are structured. So when you apply these categories to your content, you can then go into the search interface and you can say, you can do a multifaceted structured search, and you can say, show me all categories or show me all files that are meant to be signed before the end of the year within XYZ date range that are worth a certain dollar value. And that can cut across all your file and folder hierarchy. And the feedback we're getting from users is that these are so easy to use, the system doesn't feel restrictive. Another key area, if you're thinking about being a content platform, is lightweight workflows. And in this case, we're talking about document approvals. We've built document approvals up to the G Suite user experience standard. So these work exactly how you think they ought to work. You can request an approval on a document. It could be a Word, PowerPoint, Excel, doc sheet, slide, PDF, or any other file stored in Drive. You can identify who the reviewers and approvers need to be. The reviewers and approvers, they don't have to get out an auth token. They don't have to get back to their desktop computer. They don't need to log in to a dedicated approval system. They could be on the beach, on vacation, on their mobile device. They can pull up the document that's asking for their review. They can have a back and forth in a Google Docs comment style interface. You can ask questions, you can have a back and forth. That all gets logged, and then they can approve or reject the document, all facilitated via mobile notifications and the kind of collaborative experience you would expect from G Suite. So that's another way that we're taking these systems that feel like they restrict collaboration and helping people be more effective. Once you've gotten your content into Drive, you've labeled it, you're integrated with the workflows, you want that content to be available anywhere you need it. You don't want to have to switch your context and get into some other system. So we're announcing at this conference that Google Drive is coming to the G Suite side panel, so you'll have access to that content no matter where you are across G Suite. So that was point number 2. Point number 3, legacy ECM systems, for you to get the benefit out of them in terms of helping your organization have access to the knowledge that they need to get their jobs done, We don't want to foist that manual work onto you. Google Machine Learning and Artificial Intelligence should serve up to you what you need when you need it. So yesterday we announced the new priority page in Drive, which is the extension of our quick access feature, if you've seen that. We sat down and thought about what would Drive be like if we reimagined the entire experience in the mold of an assistive machine learning feature, and the result is Priority. Priority has two sections, and these two sections are solving for a fundamental human tension. You simultaneously want to be informed of what's going on around you, and you want to be focused. If you're totally informed, you're probably like my friend who's a news junkie and gets interrupted every 2 minutes, you're not focused at all. If you're totally focused, you're probably not aware of what's going on around you, and we need to solve for that tension. So the suggested section of the priority page, here you see it on mobile, solves for the being informed part of this problem. What are the things going on around me that I need to know? We're pulling signals from Calendar, from Gmail, from Hangouts Chat. We're even integrated with Slack. So if you're using Drive and G Suite together with Slack, we know what files are getting mentioned in what rooms and what times. We integrate all those signals. We pull them into a competitive machine learning framework. We evaluate all the various suggestions, and we identify what are the things going on across your organization that you need to know about. And then at the bottom of the card, we actually guide that into action. Oh, this is a document where your manager left a comment, and you probably want to reply to a comment. Here's another document that's waiting for your approval. So the suggested feed helps keep you informed. The bottom of the page, the bottom half of this page, is Workspaces. This is a new concept. This helps keep you focused. It's very clear in our research data that the typical enterprise user has 2 to 5 work streams that they're working on at once, 2 to 5 projects. And across those 2 to 5 projects, they have about 25 files that they're working with. It varies a little bit, but it's actually a pretty reasonable set of content. In storage systems today, it's pretty hard, however, to focus on those specific projects because the files are probably spread out across a big corporate hierarchy. You know, some of them might be deep down in the finance hierarchy, others are in the HR team drive. And what an individual employee needs is to be able to pull those together in one place. Workspaces does this in an assistive, intelligent way. We can identify those files, we can cluster them, and we can serve them up to you, helping you be focused. Now, finally, in terms of security, we have launched many features in Drive over the last year that make it, in our opinion, one of the most secure solutions in the market. A new one that we announced yesterday for the first time is pin code sharing. So you can now securely share to an external user outside your domain, even if they don't have a Google account, in a way that prevents the sharing invitation from being forwarded. So this relies on a one-time passcode, much like your online bank uses to verify your identity. So, okay, some claps, that's great. Thanks. So that'll be rolling out later this year. So if this all sounds attractive and you're a G Suite customer, you can just wait for these features to roll out to you. If you're not yet a G Suite customer, the process of getting access to these might sound daunting to you. It might involve changing out mail, might involve changing out calendar. That's quite a lot of change management that can be scary. So what we're doing is we're breaking Drive apart from the rest of G Suite and now selling it as an individual package called Drive Enterprise. So you can keep mail as it is, you can keep your calendar as it is, and get access to some of the most transformative products in G Suite: Drive, DocSheets, Slides, Cloud Identity, and Vault. And this actually includes all of the most advanced enterprise features from the G Suite Enterprise offering. I won't read these all to you, but any Drive-related feature from the G Suite Enterprise SKU is available here in the standalone Drive offering. I'll switch gears. I have about 1 more minute left. That's everything I had to say about Drive. I wanted to briefly mention a significant Cloud Search announcement. So Cloud Search is a way to search across all of your corporate content in the cloud without requiring on-prem installed hardware. Yesterday, we announced that Cloud Search now has a connector capability that allows it to search all of your on-prem or other SaaS data sources, so you can have one search box to rule them all, not just your G Suite data, but any other data source you have. So that's rolling out to enterprise customers now, and also ultimately will be available as a standalone offering. All right, David will come up to finish up.
Thanks, Alex. So that was a whirlwind tour of everything we've been working on in G Suite the last year. Hopefully it gives you a sense of the breadth of capabilities within G Suite. As a few next steps, we're going to end shortly. And if you're interested in any of the products that we announced that we're moving into their EAP program, you can find a link there to our cloud community so you can register for them. Also, if you're not using G Suite today and you're interested, try the new Drive Enterprise product or contact sales via our gsuite.google.com site. Most of the sessions, the deep dive sessions for different product areas will be posted online. And we're going to, after this concludes, we'll be outside, a few of us, for a while if you want to have any specific questions you want to ask in person. But thank you all for coming today, and enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.